Alright all, and welcome back to a new video on day 3 of the Leopardstown Christmas Festival previews. And it was a much better day today, let's be honest about it. Great day at Leopardstown, great day also for a few of my selections on Twitter. I do urge you, if you don't follow me on Twitter, to go and do so. I think it's in the description down below, because I add usually one or two to the old YouTube videos, and especially with Chepstow and Limerick being cancelled, I put in a few from Wetherby, got a decent 7-1 winner there, 13-8 winning nap, alongside obviously Master McShee at 9-1, appreciated at 2-1. So it was a good day overall. Double Shuffle ran very well at a big price, 16-1. He came third in the big handicap chase at Kempton. So we were up. We were down on the first day approximately 9 points to level stakes, and we were up 10 points today. So we're now in profit for the 2 days, and also a big day today from the selection. So hopefully that can continue on, and we can have 2 more profitable days going forward, day 3 and day 4. Also, just looking at the big racing from today, I thought Chacun Pour Soi was absolutely superb. Some people out there that seem to question his jumping. I don't know whether these people are actually watching the races or not. Yeah, fair enough, you could make a small argument. His jumping maybe wasn't quite as slick down in Cork as it can be, but today I thought it was absolute mustard. Appreciated is just a seriously good horse. I think he's being able to get away with 2 miles at the moment because he's just so good. I think he's got an awful lot of class about him, and I thought that was a super performance. Shishkin was very good. Altior, I thought he actually ran okay, kept at it, but he's not going to win a champion chase, is he? Certainly doesn't look like it at this moment in time. Moving on, though, to day 3 of the Leopardstown Christmas Festival, starting off with the 12.05, the 2 mile 4 furlong maiden hurdle, and I'm going to be siding with the favourite in this, to be honest, Gaillard du Mesnil at 5-4. Best price for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. They had a decent day today. 3 winners on the card, including the Paddy Power Chase, which I was extremely wrong about. I didn't think Castlebourne West would have a chance in that, but he completely outrun what I thought he'd do. I thought off top weight he had a lot to prove, but he's probably just a step above handicap class, to be fair to the horse. He won't be running too many more handicaps down the line. But anyway, they've had a good day today. Obviously, Reality Check was a pretty sombre way to finish the card, but they'll be looking to get back to winning ways on this Gaillard du Mesnil. He was a very well-regarded horse, and he was well-backed on his Irish debut. He has some decent enough form coming over from France. I just think he didn't quite get home last time out over 2-4 on absolutely bottomless ground behind Holy Macapony. Now, I know Holy Macapony hasn't given the form a major boost since, because he bombed out in a graded race at Navan there the week before Christmas, but I still think there's a maiden certainly in this horse very soon. Indigo Breeze is an interesting sort, just got nabbed on the line by Kescon Risk, who ran pretty well in the grade 1 today, but I think a lot went against Kescon Risk that day, and I think a lot went for Indigo Breeze, so I think he probably should have got the job done, personally speaking, but they did win this race Connections with Flawless Escape 2 or 3 years ago, so it's one to bear in mind. He's the main danger, obviously, as the prices would suggest, but this Gaillard du Mesnil, I think he takes a lot of stopping. 5-4 is no wild price, but hopefully it'll be a winning start to the day. The 12.40 is the Pertemps Handicap qualifier, a really hard race, always is with these 3 mile Pertemps races, because you don't know which horses are going to be trying to win and which horses won't be trying to win. I've picked 2 from Connections that I think will be targeting this race rather than bigger ones down the line, as it is 5 places. Like, if you want a safe bet, I think the Boss's Oscar at 5-1 is probably a safe bet, because they'll want him to come 4th or 5th, qualify him, and then get him into the Pertemps, but I don't think they'll win with him. Instead, I'll be going for one at near enough the top of the market. 6-1 best price you can get on Unexpected Depth. I'm going to go each way just because it's such a minefield of a race that I'm going to be kind of trying to cover my stakes and I suppose be a little bit more conservative as a result. This horse won very well last time out off a mark of 130. He's now been raised £8 for Oliver McKiernan, and Liam McKenna takes 7 off him. But he won in the style of a really good horse, actually, on his reappearance. Wasn't found in the market, actually took a drift on the day. But he's a pretty prolific horse when he's on the track, and he's still a young horse and still a progressive horse. The last day proved he can stay 3 miles well. I think, as I say, for a combination of this, Oliver McKiernan and Liam McKenna to keep the Faith Syndicate, I don't think they'll be really spying major, Pertemps final aspirations down the line at Cheltenham. I think they'll just want to pick up a prize here, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was banged there. 6-1 is probably short enough for a race like this, but I think he is an improver and potentially should be banged there. And one that I think is a little bit overpriced again, as I've been saying for these Paul Nolan horses, with the stable form. I thought Fitzhenry ran a cracker today, to be fair to him. Just got nutted out of a place, finished 7th in a 6th place race, which is a real stinker. But Mrs. Milner here at 10-1. I just think 10-1 is probably a point or two too big. I think she's probably 10-1 because of the stable form, which is a fair enough angle to oppose her, I suppose. But she's a pound actually lower than she was, finishing 2nd, only beaten a half length by On the Blind Side at Cheltenham at the November meeting. She ran a stormer that day on her first start at 3 miles on the track with Robbie Parr riding. She's in here off 129, Sean O'Keefe in the saddle. And just if you were to take out the stable form, I think you just got a bang good each way chance. As I say, I think this is a race they'll be looking for her to run well in, certainly come in the first 4 or 5, ideally. I don't know, Mrs. Milner, because she went over to Cheltenham, you wouldn't be sure whether they actually will be looking to get her qualified. But, if to qualify, you have to finish in the places, or pretty much in the places, unless you're very unfortunate to finish 6th, considering the majority of bookmakers are going 5 places on the race. So Miss Milner 10-1, unexpected depth 6-1 would be my 2 to take on the field there. And hopefully it'll be like the handicap hurdle today, where we had a 1-2 with Master McShee and C. Ducker. The 115 is the big 3 mile grade 1 hurdle, and I'm going to be sticking to my man Ronald Pump in this at 4-1. I think he's not a bad price at 4-1 at that. He fell obviously behind Cider Burley on his reappearance before finishing 2nd, only beaten a half length by Honeysuckle. If you take that form on face value, which I'm not sure you can, but if you did take that form on face value, he's a search for this. I don't think you can, because I think Honeysuckle obviously was probably in need of the run and quite vulnerable on her seasonal reappearance in the Hatton's Grace. But I still think this is the first time this year Ronald Pump's probably getting exactly what he wants, which is 3 miles, soft ground. He's operated well around Leopardstown in the past, which is not what can be said for Fury Road, who is a pretty consistent horse in a lot of his runs so far in his career, but his 2 bad runs have both come at Leopardstown, one in a bumper and one in a grade 1 novice hurdle here last year. It would just temper my enthusiasm about taking the price. I think Cider Burley's a big danger, but his price would indicate that. I think he's maybe a hint skimpy at 7-4. French Dynamite, not a horse I'd put up, but he's a horse I put up as in my horse to follow list for this year. I think he's a really nice horse. It somewhat shocked me they were staying over hurdles this year, but he ran a stormer behind Cider Burley on seasonal reappearance. Wouldn't surprise me if he ran a big race. I think he's 16-1. If you wanted a small flutter each way on him, I wouldn't put you off. Mouse Morris has already been in the winner's enclosure this week. The 150 is the 2 mile 4 furlong handicap hurdle for horses rated 80 to 116. A trappy little race, which I'm going to give you 2 selections for. The first one being Boher Cailin at 9-1 for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. I think this mare is maybe a little bit undervalued at a mark 113. She's a 4-year-old. She's still got an awful lot of improvement left in her. She won a point-to-point before winning a Clonmel maiden hurdle. She then was stepped up into listed class when finishing last behind Sky 8th and the likes of Finest Evermore. I think that was just too much of a step up too early. She's dropping into much calmer waters here, and I just think a mark of 113 may somewhat undervalue her, considering she's won a point-to-point and a maiden hurdle. This is a lot more realistic, and I think 9-1's actually a bigger price than I thought she'd be. I thought she'd be much shorter than that, so that's a nice each-way price that I'd be willing to take. And another one I'm going to go for at a slightly bigger price, again following in Oliver McKiernan here, is Difficult Decision, who actually ran behind Unexpected Depth in that 3 mile handicap hurdle. Now this horse in his career has shown that 3 miles probably does stretch him, and 2.5 miles on soft ground, which is exactly the type of conditions he's going to get now tomorrow, is exactly what he wants. He's off a mark 110, which he's yet to prove he's maybe good enough to compete off a mark of 110, but that's factored into his price of 16-1. Back to a more favourable distance on ground he enjoys. He won 2 similar enough contests last year on soft ground at this type of distance. It wouldn't surprise me if he was to run well at 16-1. Again, it's another race that you're getting 4 or 5 places with the majority of bookmakers. The 225 is the Saviles Chase, and it's It's the big one on the card, and it's a superb race. An awful lot of these horses have stood their ground, which is brilliant for the race and brilliant for the game to have such a competitive Grade 1 at this time of the year. A horse I've been all over for this race for quite a while has been Delta Work. He's out to 6-1. I just think it's too big personally. He's a 4-1 chance in my book anyway. He's 6-1 with a few people now. I just think he goes mad close in this. Do you not think? There's 3 or 4 places being paid out by a lot of bookmakers again. I just can't see him out of those places. Won this race last year, won the Irish Gold Cup last year, 3 from 3 over course and distance on the Chase course. He has to go close. I'm sorry, but he really does. I know Manella Indo's a potentially very smart horse, and if he wins this race, he'll make up into a massive big chance for the Gold Cup. But I think I'm going to take the angle on Delta Work at 6-1, and one I'm going to give a small chance to is Allaho at 8-1. You just look at the prices: Manella Indo 5-2, Allaho 8-1. They've an awful lot of form, very closely tied in with each other. If you just took away that John Durkan run, Allaho would be 5-1 for this race, I think. And he was ridden from behind in the John Durkan, which doesn't suit him. He likes to get on with it. It's the best way to use his jumping. You're probably towing the line a little bit, thinking he might get 3 miles at Leopardstown. He may be a bit of a suspect stare over 3 miles, but if he's going to get it at any course, it will be here. And I think he might show up well and run a good race. He'd be the type of horse I'd be looking for 4 places. Maybe he might sneak into them at 8-1. The 3 o'clock is the big beginner's chase, and it sees the big getaway back after a real underwhelming chase debut behind Conflated, where he didn't seem to jump well at all. And I'd be opposing him at short odds as a result. I think he is the most likely winner, obviously, but it takes a braver man than me to be putting him up at 4-5, having jumped like that. And I'd be more interested in taking 6-1 each way, Cedarwood Road. I know it's I hate using phrases like an each way bet to nothing, but I do think he's got a massive chance, certainly, of filling the frame here. There's 8 runners, which is a perfect 8 for your 3 place each way. And as I say, over Christmas, it can sometimes be prudent to back some of these horses each way and try and cover your stake more than anything. Christmas racing can be bruising at times. This Cedarwood Road didn't jump very well himself, actually, in his beginner's chase when he was 6th behind Janet Dill. But I'm just taking it off the back that he ran very poorly in a maiden hurdle and finished 7th at exactly the same time last year as he came 6th in his beginner's chase this year, before going and hacking up in a maiden hurdle last year on Stephen's Day at Leopardstown. I'd say this track and this race has been in mind ever since then, getting him to this meeting and to run in a beginner's chase. I think he'll be a much better horse. Sean Flanagan back on him again. I think if he jumps an awful lot better, he's certainly not out of the frame. And actually, if he jumps well and fulfills the promise I think he can achieve, which is obviously why I put him on my horses to follow list for this year, I think he actually has the chance to maybe put the big getaway in his place. But I know that's big talk. I know the big getaway is a very hard favourite to probably beat, but 6-1, I think it's too big. I thought he was going to be more 4-1, and then it's one of those hard ones. You can't put it up something 4-1 each way. 6-1 is more than acceptable to be back in each way. You're getting you're getting a profit if it does place, and obviously you're getting a bigger profit if it does win. I'm hoping he runs well. I'm hoping he can put it up to the big getaway and maybe even beat him. The 335 is the concluder, the bumper. I'm going to give you 2 for this. One being Ramilles at 6-4. I know it's probably a short enough price, and he was a short enough price last year on Stephen's Day when I got my fingers burnt backing him when he came 4th behind Risk Factor. It was just interesting that day. Obviously, Patrick Mullins was down riding Faugheen in Limerick, and Richie Deegan was on him. We wouldn't ride too many for Willie Mullins. Now, Richie's a very good rider in his own right, but this horse just didn't seem to go the gallop one bit. Travelled all right into the race, but had nothing left to give come the business ends, and Richie gave him a pretty easy time when the chance was gone. That race doesn't look too bad at the moment. Risk Factor, yeah, he's turned into an okay horse. Munderson reopposes again here, and then Good Time Johnny, who's a horse I quite like for Tony Martin, came 3rd. He is well touted. He was a massive big purchase as a point-to-point horse, and I'm hoping maybe just last Christmas it was just all a little too soon in this horse's progression, and hopefully he might be a more streetwise horse this time round. But if you don't want to get involved at a short price like that at 6-4, I certainly wouldn't put anyone off having a few bob each way on Unbreakable Bond 10-1 for Barry Connell and Finney Maguire in Barry Connell Silks. As I was saying with Big King earlier in the week, Barry Connell's going to target this race, and he's had a few good runners. Big King ran very well into second. Snake Oil ran very well in the maiden hurdle to come third. And it wouldn't surprise me if this horse runs well. He was second in a point-to-point at Curramore to Grangeclare Native, who's been a little bit disappointing this year for Gordon Elliott, but he won a bumper last year. He's been off since that run, which was in April 2019, so theoretically he might need the run, but I'm sure he'll be primed to run well at this meeting. Finney Maguire has a good record around Leopardstown as well in these bumpers, and I'd like to hope he might hit the frame at 10-1. Hopefully him coming second to Ramilles. Looking around the cards, if you were to offer me anything, look, it's very hard to know what to make of Limerick at the moment. Will it go ahead? Won't it go ahead? If it does go ahead, I'll be giving you 3 from the card. The 12.25, the Grade 2 Novices Hurdle, a horse I've backed maybe 1 or 2 too many times for my own good, is Ragnar Lodbrok. 7-1, I think it's not the worst each way price. He does need to scrub up his jumping an awful lot, and probably has a fair bit to find with stablemate Farouk Delen, but I can't see him really out of the frame, especially if his jumping does improve from his last 2 starts, which have been fairly credible performances over course and distance. The 1 o'clock, an auction maiden hurdle, quite sweet here on Heather Rocco at 5-1, a point-to-point recruit for Henry de Bromhead. Hugh Morgan takes the ride, taking 5 off him. I think this favourite All About Joe is probably the right favourite, but he's a tad vulnerable, and I think he's pretty skimpy at 5-4 personally. Heather Rocco 5-1's more my type of price. He won a point-to-point on good ground. Now he has completely to prove whether he can go on this type of ground, which is a complete unknown, but if he does so, I can't see him being far away. And the 2.45, the Tim Duggan Memorial Handicap Chase, always a tricky race to get a handle on. I'd give a squeak to the Long Mile at 14-1 each way for Philip Dempsey. I think this is a nice horse. Came second behind at the Acorn last year in a pretty handy handicap chase at Fairyhouse before winning 2 handicaps himself. He fell on his return last time out behind Daily Tiger, but that's a race that's worked out brilliantly with Daily Tiger, Tornado Flyer and the likes in it. He was going to be well beaten this, but this is a step down in class. He probably needed the run as he has tended to do on years gone by, and hopefully he'll be a better horse this time around. 14-1 looks big. As just on the off chance that Limerick is off, which I do think is perhaps a strong possibility, just one that came to mind over in Catterick when I scanned the card was the 3.10 horse called Maison D'Or, 7-2 for Mickey Hammonds and Joe Colliver. He's ran very well the last twice over course and distance. These 3-mile handicap hurdles seem to suit him quite well. He's on a similar mark to finishing second last time round, and I do think he's got a very good chance here. The race looks a little bit weaker than last time, and 7-2 might slightly underestimate him. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't already. And obviously, hopefully you backed a couple of winners alongside me today. If you did, please do let me know, and obviously let me know any of your other winners from today and any of your fancies going forward tomorrow for Leopardstown. Who do you think? Do you think Manella Indo, the young pretender, will win the Saviles Chase, or will it go to one of the more established guard of Delta Work presenting Percy, Ken Boy? There's heaps in there, heaps of really good horses in there as well. And who do you think will come out on top between the Sire de Burley, Fury Road and Ronald Pump 3-way clash? You might let me know if you have a comment. Do leave it down below and I'll try to get in touch with all of you guys in the comments. And until next time, where I'll be covering day 4, the final day of Leopardstown and hopefully Limerick, please stay safe, stay well, land a few bets tomorrow, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.